Welcome to the Fun Astrology Podcast for Tuesday, October 12th. Thomas Miller. Thanks for joining us. We've got a fairly, as I mentioned yesterday, light week ahead of us. So we're going to dive into a couple of good listener questions. But before we do, let's peek up above our heads and see what's going on overhead. And the big deal this morning is a Capricorn moon. This was interesting because I've been working on this big paperwork project, which is not my forte. You guys know me better than that. But stuff that, that obviously has to get done. And I've been working on this for the last couple of weeks. It's just been like, I don't do it well. So it's like I can come in here and knock out a lot of audio in no time. And I just don't do well with it. Well, when the moon turned to Capricorn yesterday, I mean, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. It all just kind of ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's going to set up the listener question that we're going to talk about here in just a minute, because I've got a great little question about deep diving into astrology and some of the tools that we use to do that. But the moon is in Capricorn today, and then tomorrow in the morning at 6:53 a.m., it goes void of course and will be so all the way until 4:47 p.m. when it moves into Aquarius. So I've got my project mostly formatted and ready to go, and I'm just going to do the glance overs and all of that before the final presentation, which I'm going to do tomorrow in the void of course moon. So that's kind of how I've been using that the last few days. Been interesting. But I saw that moon coming and I thought, okay, this ought to be a get her done kind of thing. And it sure enough was. The rest of the chart is still intact. The sun is now at 19 degrees Libra, so it's pulling away from Mercury, which is going the other direction in retrograde. So now the Libra stellium looks like this. Mercury at 13 degrees, Mars at 17 degrees, the sun at 19 degrees. That spreads out a little bit. I think that energy has been dissipating. That Libra stellium that's been the boot on our throats. I'm telling you, that's been what we've been feeling. But everything else is pretty much in place. We will have some aspects going forward, but a lot of the positions of everything now are pretty well set for the next wee little bit. The sun will change, Mercury will come out of retrograde, and it'll scoot on into Scorpio, and the sun will be in Scorpio, Venus 3 weeks in Sagittarius, and then in Capricorn. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking forward to between now and the end of the year. Everything else is pretty much locked down. Now, as we think about that, I had a great listener question come in last week, and I thought we would talk about this for a few minutes.
Hey, Thomas. Hope everything's going well. You've mentioned a couple times that you have the Honeycomb Collective Astrology Journal. I have one too, and I love it, but I'm a little bit overwhelmed with all of the aspects that happen every day, and I would love some ideas on how to use it and make it not so overwhelming. Thanks so much.
What she's talking about is a book that you can order. It's a personal astrological almanac. I found it a couple of years ago. I'm in my second year of having them. When you find a product that has good energy in it, in other words, it's designed well, it's beautiful, and it serves a high energy function, I like that kind of thing. So, number one, I like supporting what they're doing. I have no affiliation with them. I've exchanged emails a couple of times with them, but it's a little mom and pop business. I don't even know where it's operated out of, but I just like their product. And what it is a diary that you can either get the annual booklet or you can get it every 6 months. I've been doing the every 6 months because it's smaller and I like to have the notes in there. I use it. I use it for the show. I use it for myself, and it's kind of with me, at least around here, all the time, everywhere. But, she just nailed it. It's complicated. So the first thing is you've inspired me to do a video on the tools. So I'm going to do a video. Not now, Brittany. Brittany's screaming over there. No, we have to finish the course. I promise it'll be after the course. So this will be a November, December project. But I'm going to do a video on how to use the Honeycomb and how to use Time Nomad. Those are two tools that I use frequently. The one thing that I've noticed is that Time Nomad, to me, I've had some time discrepancies. So I still use it, but I always cross-check it back because Honeycomb is rock solid. Now, what she's talking about, if you haven't seen this, you can't relate to what we're talking about, but you get this daily diary you give them your birth information, and they create in the diary all of the daily aspects of everything in the sky that is affecting your chart, and it gives you also the macro of what's going on, which is exactly what we talk about here. So, for example, today, what the daily slice shows is that the moon is in first quarter, and then I have a personal aspect with Venus squaring my Pluto today, this afternoon. So it shows that in light blue. And then the rest of the day, and they're kind of grayed out, the lunar aspects are kind of grayed out because there are so many. But the rest of the day in my little booklet shows the lunar aspects that will be happening in the chart today. And there are 5 of those. So in my little daily entry, I've got 1, 2, 3 lunar aspects, then the personal Venus aspect in blue, and then 2 more lunar aspects this afternoon. And then right under the date is the lunar stage of the first quarter. So you get all of this information in a weekly view. Well, what she's saying is it's a lot. Well, let me tell you how I kind of stumbled onto the value of this through the day. I was studying the markets, and I came across this guy who used to be a floor trader in Chicago. He used to trade futures on the floor back in the day when they still did that. And he adopted astrology back then when he had to hand draw charts. And he taught me a little system of how he took a number of different charts. I mean, he had the New York Stock Exchange, the S&P 500, the United States Sibley chart. He had all these charts. He would run calendars on them just like this, just like what we're doing here. And he would get the daily aspect times of the major aspects through the day. He would write all those times down, and then you go to the market, and I'm telling you, I've sat there and watched it. I've traded it and actually made money with it. That when those aspects happen, the market usually moves a little bit. You'll have a trend reversal. So if it's been going up through the day a little bit, boom, it'll turn around and go down. Been going down, boom, it'll turn around and go up. And you can actually trade that stuff on very short-term scalps of the futures indexes is what we're talking about here. So it's complicated stuff. But point is, these little tiny micro moves through the day show up in the stock exchanges. So do you not think that they show up in our lives? So one thing you could do to play with this is if you have either the Honeycomb or if you have Time Nomad, which lists things out like this as well through the day. Not quite as much detail, but pretty good. You could set alarms, or you could just make yourself aware mentally. Yeah, you got to kind of have the book nearby, but you could play with and see where things show up in your own life. For example, maybe there's a square aspect in the middle of the day, and all of a sudden, things are starting to get tense at work, or conversations end up in a little bit of conflict, or you realize maybe this is just a time to step back and let this energy pass. These are going to be little whiffs. They're not going to be big ahas, not big macro things. They're going to be little whiffs of energy that will show up through the day. I really got in touch with this when I was in Florida because the tides come in and come out every 6 hours. There's the moon controlling even the flow of energy in our oceans. You don't think that this stuff doesn't flow the energy in our lives. So what you're doing is you're energy surfing. It's not controlling things. You're surfing. It's just there, and you're dancing with it. So it really opens you up to the daily dance that happens all day long. Man, that sends chills down my spine. Hope that helps. I'll come out with a video and let you guys know when it's available. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.